I believe in angels, and I believe in you. I believe in the simple things and everything you do. I believe in the heavens above, and I believe in truth. I believe in the love we have, because I believe in you. So tell me, do you feel the way that I feel? Then tell me, would you give what I'm willing to give? And I believe in honesty, and I believe it's true, and I believe if you set it free, it will come back to you. And I believe that things were meant to really be, and I believe in the love we have, because I believe in you.
Oh, and welcome to the show formerly known as I Cure Cancer. For some reason, I am JJ from Against the Wall. I'm having problems getting Cynthia on the line. If you guys will just give me just a second here, and I'll try to straighten this problem out. Let's see. Cynthia, where are you, dear? I seem to be what the heck? Oh, man. Oh, here we go. Add to group. Oh, I have to apologize to everybody who's listening. I really dropped the ball trying to produce this show today. I thought I had everything in order, and apparently I haven't. Apparently I haven't got everything in order. Oh, for on them. And you're live. I'm sorry. Ladies and gentlemen, Cynthia Brooks.
Hi, everybody. We're having a little tiny techno problem. So hi, and welcome to the show. I'm Cynthia Brooks. A lot of you who've tuned in before know that, and I want to say hi to all our new listeners as well. And thank you so much for tuning in and listening. We're going through a little transition. This show, excuse me, from the beginning had been I Cure Cancer with Ian Jacklin, and I was his co-host, as a lot of you know. Now what's happening is Ian is very busy with his other show, and he's working on his film, a number of films. One is Hemp Boxer. It's going to be a feature film, and he's writing that and whatnot. And for a long time, as a lot of you know, that I have been wanting to create my own show again. So it just kind of fell into place brilliantly and easily that I'm eventually going to be taking over this time slot. Right now, we're still I Cure Cancer, and, it's still going to be the same topic and whatnot, but it's going to be some different people, different shakers, different makers. So everybody, welcome to the show. And I want to introduce, and by the way, we'll keep you posted, as things progress and whatnot. And Ian will be popping in from now and again to keep us updated on all his things that he's got going on. So first I want to introduce my gorgeous, talented, as they put on Facebook, hot co-host, Vanessa Logan. She's an amazing woman. She's an amazing actor. She's a great writer. She's got a ton of scripts out there all over the place being optioned. She's just really, really, really smart woman, and also a comedian. We've worked many times before. We've had our own comedy act and whatnot. And on my show, I wanted to bring in a little more of the comedy element, just because one of the things, and for the new listeners, in short, I was diagnosed 17 years ago, almost going on 18, with terminal cancer and 2 years to live. And even if I did chemo and radiation and surgery, there was still no guarantee that I would live. But the doctor said that if I didn't, that I wouldn't last 2 years. I went completely over to alternative medicine and trained myself and drove all over the country practically, talking to physicists and microscopists, and pieced together this kind of protocol for myself and cured myself of cancer in 8 months. And I've been cancer free ever since. So that was the beginning of a new journey in my life. And a lot of you guys know that I was mostly just an actor then. And I hate that I just said just, but anyway, I am an actor. And, but also my passion is helping other people learn how to heal themselves through alternative means. So that was kind of my journey. But I had met Vanessa years ago, and we just kind of hooked up. We just worked really well together. So we've done a ton of different shows together, and I thought she would be the perfect candidate for my co-host for this. So do you want to say hello, Vanessa, to everybody?
Hi, world. How are you? I'm Vanessa Logan. It's very nice to meet you all. I'm very happy to be here. Thank you for having me, Cynthia.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So Vanessa is sitting right next to me, and I gotta warn you guys, when we get together,
we can't be held responsible for what's going to happen. We might be a little bit too silly for you. I don't know. I don't want to make any promises, but we can get pretty stupid silly.
Yeah. But that's the fun of it. Oh, yeah. And I went off in a tangent, and I forgot my whole point. My point is that while I was piecing together this protocol for my mind, body, and spirit, also one of the huge factors was meditation, of course, and I'm going to be teaching some small meditations in this program. And even I can teach you a small Essene meditation towards the end of the program if we have time. But one of the main things I did was I also read there was actually a U.S. senator who cured himself of terminal cancer using only high doses of vitamin C and laughter. And so I was fascinated. They made a movie out of it. Ed Asner played the senator, and it fascinated me when I was a child, but it just struck true to me. So I kind of divorced myself from the entire world other than learning about alternative medicine, and the rest was all comedy. I didn't let myself watch TV only, and back in those days we had VHS tapes. Only watching tapes of comedies, and really stupid comedies like the Marx Brothers and the Three Stooges, who I love. So the constant laughing was really part of the healing process for me, and I want to bring more of that to this show. So hence, I just was smart enough to grab one of the funniest women on the planet.
Oh my God. Thank you so much. I had not heard that story about the U.S. senator. I've never heard that before.
Yeah. It was one of those made-for-TV movies, and yeah.
I'm going to have to look up and see who he is, because that's super fascinating to me that there would be. I guess because I always think of and this is my wrong judgment, but I always think of the government as being conservative and sort of against the Eastern medicine and all the different alternative stuff. But I feel like people don't know who they are until their back is against the wall.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Like
that was me.
Yeah. Like I know that there have been times in my life that were rare, thank God, rare circumstances, but strange things where I had thought, this is what I believe and this is what I think and this is what people should do. And then when I was actually in this position, I was like, oh Lord, I'm 180 degrees different from who I thought I was.
Right.
And it's kind of like, it's that thing where my mind has to be open.
Right.
If I'm going to get through this, I have to figure this out. And it's a real recalibration. You got to change a lot of stuff. So I'm excited that there was a senator that was like, okay, we're going to do this with vitamin C.
Yeah.
We're going to figure it out. That's cool.
Not just that, but also I used a Rife machine, also as part of my protocol. And the Rife machine that I have actually was one of the originals that there was another senator, and they will never let us know who this was, but his wife had breast cancer, he read about the Royal Rife technology, and so he got one for his wife, and she was cured pretty quickly of breast cancer. So he started running this underground operation, hiring people to make Rife machines in his garage and shipping them out.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Well, and also, everybody, if you want to see something fascinating, I don't think you've seen this footage, is on Ian's iCureCancer.com. In his film, he interviewed a woman, and she wanted to keep her face dark. It's really worth checking out, and I'll post it as well. But he interviewed her, and she worked, I believe it's like down in Irvine area. She worked in an alternative medicine clinic, and she like called them out, meaning she said that all kinds of senators and congressmen and high government officials all come flying in through, I forget, Edwards Air Force Base on private jets, the dark, smoked window limos. They had to let them in the back door, and they didn't, because they didn't want like the outside world to know they were seeking alternative medicine. What? So many are aware of it, and she even says in this interview that when she kind of faced them and says, why aren't you talking about alternative medicine? Why aren't you?
Do we need to make a movie about this? We need to make all the president's doctors.
Oh my God!
I just got this vision of like, in the parking lot with deep throat, like, oh, it was this one, it was that one. Like, it's the craziest thing. We've got like, where Woodward and Bernstein?
Yeah.
And Dr. Oz.
Yeah.
Where are they?
Exactly. We're doing it. Okay, folks, we're making a movie. You just witnessed. And see, this is why I love this woman. She's genius.
Thank you.
But
that's incredible.
Yeah.
So yes, the tinted windows, they're all like undercover, under the radar.
Totally.
Wow.
And so when this woman who worked at this clinic asked the senators, why are you not talking about, the benefit of alternative medicine and that it really is the cure for cancer?
Yeah.
They were like, she said, shamelessly just shrugged their shoulders and said, my campaign is financed by Big Pharma. Big Pharma being the pharmaceutical companies. Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. So a lot of our government officials do know about this clearly and obviously. So something interesting to check out, along those lines. A lot more of our leaders know about alternative medicine and are just, their hands are tied too because Big Pharma wants to, run the show still and keep everybody on drugs and everything. So watch for our upcoming movie. All the President's Doctors.
I wonder how hard that would be to get that movie financed. Because I know Robert Redford had a hell of a time getting that script financed. Like, studios passed on All the President's Men. And
yeah.
Oh, well, whatever. I'm Don Quixote. I'll just dream that dream. We'll get it made.
You dream that dream, Don.
We'll get it financed.
Well, let's ask Big Pharma if they'll finance it.
Maybe we can get somebody to kick in some money. Get some manufacturers of Zoloft.
Yeah, why not?
Why not? You're cancer, you got depressed? Okay, you're depressed, you got cancer? Go ahead, just take some Zoloft.
There you go.
We're all in cahoots.
There you go.
Oh my God.
Okay, pardon me for interrupting, but your guest is on the line.
Oh, we're getting right to you, Ryan.
Okay,
so
I'm going to mute up.
No problem. That's a little preview of what our show is about. So first, also, I want to thank so much JJ for jumping in and working the lines and running, the show. And I couldn't do it without him. And he's such a great guy and such a wonderful man. And thank you so much, JJ, for helping out. I can't tell you how much, I appreciate it. And it's just wonderful of you to take the time to do this.
Oh, well, no problem whatsoever.
So our guest, Ryan Bloom, is this amazing man. I believe it was back in March when we had him on the show. I didn't know him, and he is also a great healer and has got such an interesting story and such an amazing man. So I want to introduce Ryan. Hi, Ryan. How are you today?
Hello. I am awesome. Thank you so much. How is everybody doing so far? It looks like awesome. I can feel just the energy of creativity flowing.
We're having a good time so far.
Yes, you
nice
are.
To meet you.
Nice to meet you, Vanessa. Pleasure. Thank you. And thank you, JJ, for holding the space. My friend, we appreciate you as well.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So, Ryan, I want you to tell a little bit of your background because it's just so fascinating to me. What I kind of say, and correct me if I'm wrong, but in short, I tell people, well, he was like this whiz kid, like a genius, Wolf of Wall Street, and in all kinds of multi-million-dollar financing, and then he had a spiritual awakening and became this great healer. That's how I explain you in short. How badly did I do there?
That works. It's all just a story, right? I couldn't prove it to anybody anyways, so we make it up as we go. But no, that was pretty close. Did get tempted and even coerced into moving into the world of finance, which, for me, being initially very logical and also very creative, but logic was a predominant thing. I thought, well, numbers, can't lie, unlike humans. So 1 + 1, no matter where you are in the world, is 2, and I can work with that. So that was the temptation of getting into the world of finance. And your story of pointing to the past is pretty accurate. Yeah, had a life-changing event one Sunday afternoon, and I just let's just say the way I saw the world changed, and it really caused a lot of disturbance in my life because once you build kind of an image of yourself, you have all these identities and roles and relationships, and then the way you say the world changes, well, all of that begins to fall apart, and so your world almost kind of crumbles beneath your feet. So it required, like you were sharing with your story, Cynthia, it required for you to really kind of get your back against the wall and go deeply within oneself and say, okay, do I give my power away to these external influences that want me to utilize an approach that I know in my heart of hearts isn't really feel right, or do I, what do I do here? So yeah, I began making some monumental shifts in 2005, and it's been the awakening process. I cannot say is all bliss, light, love, and happiness. There's certainly some deep rooted requirements of us all to take a look at even our dark sides and maybe what's keeping us back from really, living the life of love and happiness and joy and compassion and unity and connection.
And now, would it be? I have two questions. Would it be accurate to sort of call you a life coach? Could you use that title, or?
It is. I as I put the website together, and it's just growing organically as I kind of, learn the back ends of it and kind of drip some content in there. I really found it difficult to label myself really anymore or contain myself, but life coach, life transformation coach. I really work with people on their emotional levels, their mental levels, their physical, and of course, spirit is always, the witness to this grand unfolding that we know as the human experience. So, I work with spirit to help guide, the mind-body emotional complex back to a harmonic kind of, in sync system so that all sensory experience as a human being can be experienced in its fullness.
Right. And you said something brilliant on the phone when we were chatting the other day. You had said something along the lines of reaching out to people, like with my cancer experience, people can understand the cancer, and then they can again start to wrap their minds around the spirit and the spirituality. And you said it was similar. You didn't use the word dollars. You used another word that I wasn't familiar with. To kind of bring them into their spirituality. Do you recall what that word was that you said?
No, I honestly don't. When we get together, things flow so quickly. It's hard to even sometimes myself, claim ownership to the words.
Well, they were brilliant. They were brilliant. Take my word for it. Well, it was something along the lines that everybody in their everyday experience can now, unfortunately, identify with cancer. And that gets their attention. They can identify with it, and it sort of guides them into the work that I'm doing now, which is much more energy work and self-healing. And you were saying something about like everybody can identify, they know what a dollar is, so they can sort of wrap their minds around that. And from the dollar, just like the cancer, with the way you can work with them.
Oh, gotcha. So yeah, I think let's see how I do, and you can reflect about where I am as far as gauging it. But I believe what I was pointing to is that in cancer, we've all been touched by cancer in one way or another. I personally have been touched by being with my mother through 3 bouts of breast cancer, and then finally laying her physical body to rest almost 4 years ago, and just shy of a week from now. And then
Right.
I was witness to that with my grandmother as well, and then my other grandmother with diabetes. So when you see women, you know, the loves of your life as a male in your lifetime, you know, falling away to disease, the conversation, even though I haven't had any direct experience of disease in that way, it is a common thread that we can meet the masses at, because we've all been touched in one way or another by a loved one experiencing disease in their body. And so it's a gateway to really begin to take great earnest look at the quality of our air, you know, our relationship to food and what that looks like, and our relationship to the earth itself and what that looks like. So it begins to open oneself up to more to life than just the grind that, of course, consumer capitalism and all that will get you bound in. You know, it really, it's a well-oiled machine with a lot of emotional pull to it. So sometimes suffering has been used as a means to really kind of change the course of one's life. And I don't know if I touched on what we were pointing to there or not.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And the word was gateway. That was great. It was a great word, gateway. Yeah. You know, also, I'm curious, do you want to share a little bit with us what happened on that Sunday afternoon? Because it's always fascinating to people in what moment in time and what happened to a person to make them kind of do a total about face.
Yeah, you know, and I wondered myself, to be honest, I witnessed my partner in almost 13 years this June, you know, Jamie reading Celestine Prophecy and Conversations with God, several years before, you know, I had any care in the world. She would have these books and would start to talk to me about it. I'd, of course, come home from the office. I'm like, yeah, you know, whatever, honey, you know, forest, you can see these colors. That's great. You know, sounds really beautiful. But the Sunday afternoon was after actually, you know, having purchased a number of homes in Orlando and personally renovating them and, you know, learning the trade of rehabbing houses. And I specialized in lower to middle, you know, class areas because I wanted to really provide an example of rejuvenation to restoration to a community. And I always found that when I'd buy the ugliest house in the neighborhood and really pour my love into it, that all the neighbors would come over and they'd want to see, and they just couldn't believe what that was about, you know, how I was doing that. And so at the time, I just paid off like $47,000 in debt on rehab costs on some properties. We had accumulated with cash, you know, I was doing very well financially. All the things that you think gives you happiness, you know, the new TVs, the surround sound, the couch, the whole thing, you know. And my son Jacob was sleeping in the bedroom, and he was still an infant at the time, and I was flipping through my new big DLP, you know, 55-inch screen TV, and I came across the PBS special, and it was Wayne Dyer, Power of Intention.
Oh,
and
right.
Something just had me stop in my tracks, and I sat for 4 hours or plus, however long those, you know, those series run for, but I remembered it being an all afternoon thing. And I grabbed, you know, the phone, and I grabbed my credit card, and I'm like, kit and caboodle, come my way. So I ordered the whole, you know, enchilada, as Dr. Dyer likes to call it. And so I got the book in, and I got the CDs in, and I, for the first time in my life, actually finally finished a book. I had never finished one for book reports, in my theater acting and acting times, which I love playing with you guys in that realm. You know,
oh, that's right. That's right. I forgot to tell him you're an actor.
Yeah. You know, I would never get off script for the week of the show. And, you know, so I always have been very, I don't know. I guess I take, you know, content in my own time. But man, when I picked up Power of Intention, I went through the whole book and I listened to that set of audios over and over and over again. And then it just began rippling out into my life, and people were like, Ryan, what are you doing? You know, you changed so much in just a short period of time. And so when I noticed people were talking about me again, I knew something was right. I was kind of now becoming that black sheep in my group, you know, and I was, you know, meditating on breaks and not sitting around in a circle talking and gossiping at work. And I just really started finding this incredible power in what Wayne had shared. And then that led to basically, a whole nother world. I went through thousands and thousands of books over the course of the next several years and went to many different workshops and events and built a relationship actually with Neale Donald Walsch and many other, leading edge thinkers and speakers and teachers and way showers. And so it just changed everything. And, I just had to go with it. I honestly just had to kind of surrender into the river of life and put my feet up. And trust me, there are many times I grabbed a hold of a rock with all my might and said, no, I'm not letting go. And it carried me away eventually.
That's so interesting. Now, that was in 2005, you said.
Mm-hmm.
And was that, because I believe I saw that PBS show of Wayne Dyer's as well. Was that the one where he kept, the bottom line was go back to source. He kept saying that, go back to the source.
It very well could be, yeah, because inspiration, the power of intention, he spoke a lot about, inspiration to be in spirit, right? And so when we act out of an inspirational state of existence, we're acting in accordance with our spirit. And so the power of intention was really to get to get clear, that you do have a participatory role in how you shape your reality, and that your clarity of intention and what you desire will ultimately lead to the experience of it if you can get out of your own way. And a lot of times, we're in our own ways because we have these stories that we have, believed to be true about ourselves that are either projections of our education or societal or, familial or friendships, influences in that way. So, we really don't realize that even as we drive down the road, I know in the area that I came from in Florida, while I was going through a cleanse, I, began kind of feeling my awareness drawn to all these fast foods. And I'm like, I don't eat this stuff. What is going on here? And then instead of giving my attention to, what the urge was, I began counting the signs. And in a 1 mile stretch, there was 19 fast food stores, signs. So we don't really realize how much of our attention is being grabbed and pulled by so many different sources all the time. So power of intention is really reclaiming your power back and getting back into, your heart's intention, your heart's desire. And it just opened a whole new world for me.
I'm kind of interested, actually, and this is sort of a goofy question because I'm going to ask it. It's Vanessa, by the way. Hello.
We know that. We know.
I didn't know if our voices sounded so terribly different. I guess mine does.
No,
yeah.
no, they're different. You've got a deep, sexy voice, and I sound like I'm a hummingbird over here. Hi. No, they know it's you.
Thank you. What do I have a question for you? I was interested in sort of. So that Sunday afternoon when you saw the special by Dr. Dyer, and I'm interested in sort of the days before that. Was it did you have a sense of something's missing in my life, or like that there was some kind of a searching thing, or was it when you saw what Dr. Dyer was saying that just deep within you recognized that as truth and you just were drawn to it and thought, okay, this is where I'm going now? Or was it a third multiple choice? Was it C, none of the above? What was that experience
what about D, all of the above?
All of the above.
Yeah.
That's even better.
There you go. Hey, I'll play with you. I love it. It was really a combination of actually both. It's funny, I made a transition out of the financial world because I actually, having witnessed 2001 and being on the floor, a trading floor of a, very large investment firm and managing, $1 million accounts where you're moving literally millions in a second from one investment vehicle to another, I began to get a sense that there was some type of, something not quite right. And so I began doing my own due diligence on the financial world. And that's really what kind of kicked me out of my 9.5-year career, because I couldn't contribute to something that I knew that was causing such division within humanity, finances. And I knew that
you were there at 9/11? You were actually there when it happened?
Well, I wasn't in New York, but I was at a major investment firm.
So you were in that world.
That's correct. I was in the world. And so, of course, we had monitors, all down the trading floor. And I, at the time, was in what was known as an active trader division, because at that time, in 2000s, the online trading was a big, movement. Everybody wanted to become, their own financial advisor. So there was a transition in the industry. There was a transition in how the industry responded. There was a lot of stuff going on. So, I left the finance world and got into the real estate world because I felt, again, tangibility was there. I could physically go look at the house. I could physically, renovate the house. I could be responsible for how I managed the rehab cost and the management of the property afterwards. And then that led me into the mortgage world. But ultimately what happened, Vanessa, to answer your question, is when I got into the mortgage industry, because of an experience we had with our own finances with our 2 mortgages, I said, if I could prevent one other family from going through what my wife and I were going through at the time as a young couple building wealth, it was a horrible experience. It was an $11,000 expense. Not to mention the emotional pain and agony of this broker not being able to deliver on its promise. And here's the thing, I never asked for any promises, but when professionals make a promise, you're trusting in them. And that's one of my lessons that I teach so many others is reclaim your authority from professionals, because the truth is the answers are all within you. So that's what led to kind of this stirring. I was working 17-hour days. I wasn't seeing my child awake, for 2 or 3 days at a time.
Yeah.
I'm like, there's got to be something better to life than this. I had a lot of money. I could spend as much as I wanted in a month and still usually have some left over after paying everything off. And, we weren't living an extravagant lifestyle, but we could do a lot. We could spend a lot. We could do what we wanted when we wanted. And so in the world of, conditioning, that's success. People say you have your freedom at that point.
I'm supposed to be happy now. I'm supposed to be,
right.
Look, I've got everything. I'm supposed to be happy.
And in fact, I was emptier than I had ever been. So There was a longing. There was an emptiness. But I also was very, very acutely sensitive as a child, empathically and intuitively. And I shut down those sensory perceptions because it was so overwhelming to experience the suffering of most adults. And here I was supposed to look up to them. And I realized they didn't know themselves. They were only big children in a big body. They were just, they were not grown up themselves. So I kind of shut things down to become numb to it. And then when this power of intention showed up, it almost reactivated those systems again. And it also answered the question about why I felt so empty. And so it was a combination of many things.
Yeah, that's amazing. And you really said a mouthful about that as being a child and looking up to the adults because they're supposed to have the answers. They're the ones who make sure you're getting, the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Like they're providing you with shelter and they're providing you with hopefully good nutrition. And so you think, well, they must have the answers about navigating the world spiritually too. And if you've got, if you don't have that kind of guidance and you have to find it yourself as a kid, I think a lot of people shut down. That's really a great observation that you made.
Absolutely, it's great that you recognize it. And, here's the thing. We've created a society. We all have to take responsibility, by the way, for this. We've created a society that strips mothers away from their children weeks after they're born, where women go in and don't experience the depth of giving birth to a child because they're numbed out and they're C-sectioned and then they're sent back to work within weeks of having the child. The breastfeeding interaction falls away and the child really becomes a condition of its environment. And so wherever it goes during, those early years from 0 to 8 years old, that is the full programming that the mind takes on in the subconscious. And that's what shapes people's realities. And so we wonder, why, our children seem to be so lost in this world. Well, because they have so much input coming in from so many different directions that is so incongruent with what they know to be true within themselves that they almost have to shut down. And now their attention to the world gets shortened. And so now we label them as, ADD or ADHD and we, stick them into the doctors and, pharmaceutical down the throat. So it's a real kind of, I call it the cosmic conundrum. We here on planet Earth have really outdone ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, also, just ripping on what you said too, because we're fresh out of source. We're all born crazy clairvoyant, crazy clairaudient, clairsentient, which is what people, mean when they say psychic. Everybody is. Everybody is born a healer. Everyone is born a psychic. And back in my day when my mother worked part-time and I had my grandmother around, so there was still, that medium interaction that the parents were there to a certain degree. So I feel like losing myself, which I did, Even though interestingly enough, my father was very, very interested and did a great deal of reading. He belonged to the Nostradamus Society. He was still very interested in developing the mind, and yet still more of the outside society. I began to fall away from myself, at a slow pace. And it wasn't until, cancer, and I started studying with the Essenes that, which the Essenes will tell you, you're very, very, very clairvoyant. And what I loved about the Essenes is they're like, okay, don't listen to us. All we're going to do is teach you how to be clairvoyant again. You take a look for yourself, make up your own mind, your own opinion. Yeah, that's what really attracted me to that. But your point, I think, the children are being separated and falling away from who they truly are at a much faster pace, at least for some of them. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Now, the good news is there is a movement. There's an awareness and an awakening to that. And, with our children, we were halfway asleep when we had our son. And so, we became, victim, so to speak, out of our unconscious awareness to, being pushed into using, certain things to invoke, contractions. And then that led to, the swelling of the cervix, which then led to, proposing a C-section, which then led to being in a surgery room, 10 minutes later, and, my son being ripped out and taken away. And I'm like, wait, this isn't how it's supposed to happen, and I could feel that there was something not right about it. Now, with our daughter, on the other hand, 26 months later, we hired a doula and a hypnobirthing coach, and my wife, and I waited at the home till the very last minute, and we went to the hospital, and within minutes, she gave delivery to our daughter with not a moan, not a scream, not a yelp, and our doctor barely had time to make it from across the street to the other building. We had already given birth to our child. I'd already cut her umbilical cord, and we were already snuggling, and she was already breastfeeding, and our doctor walked in and said, "My gosh, you guys are all done?" "Yeah, we sure are. Thank you." "Okay, well, I don't need." So that's the awakening process happens progressively over time if you really do listen to what the quiet voice within you is calling and begging you to adhere to, because it wants to show you how powerful you really are.
Yeah. Yes. I'm sorry. Would you just, for the listeners and me, would you repeat what technique was it that you had your second child by?
Yeah, it's with a doula, and, a doula is a specially trained, man or woman, traditionally woman, that works with a mother during the years, the months leading into the birthing process. They educate, mothers on how to really become very in tune with their child and the child's needs and the child's movements and the rhythms and all of that, so that when the time for birth comes, that the mother and the child are strongly connected, and the communication that the child is, presenting to the mother can be received, and vice versa. And so they're working as one whole unit. And this particular
like a step beyond Lamaze. This is different from just sort of traditional natural childbirth, right? It sounds like there's more to it than that.
Yeah, Lamaze is, we did with Jacob go into a, hospital, training for 4 hours, and I was the only father in there, but hey, I like to participate in life. So I was there, and very, very different. The doula really works with the individual and helps the individual attune with what's growing and giving rise within her, and really helps the woman, again, not suppress, certain things that other doctors would perceive as a threat, but really to be with it, to understand it, and then gain an understanding from being with it. And so it's kind of a holistic approach. And she happened to be a certified hypnobirthing instructor as well, which was the only one in the state of Florida. We were very blessed. And the hypnobirthing really just helps her prepare her and the child to have a very peaceful and graceful child birthing experience. And that's exactly what happened. She just went right into her breathing. She had her earphones in. She changed one little position, and without a yelp, here came Raquel. Raquel didn't make a scream, not a utter. She was right there, eyes wide open, and it was just it's exactly the way childbirthing should be, can be. Wow. And it takes my breath away even talking about it, because it showed me the difference between giving my power away to authority and reclaiming our power and standing on our own 2 feet.
That's amazing. And you said hypnobirthing, so was it sort of like a hypnotherapy session? Did she put her sort of under a little bit to give birth, or how does that work?
Well, it works in that you read a hypnotherapy book, or hypnobirthing book, and it does apply the practices of hypnotherapy. And so you're basically listening to this audio track throughout your trimesters, and you're working with your breath, and you're working with the sounds, and you're working with the serenity of the sounds, and you're really just using the music to work with the rhythm of your body and work with the rhythm of the child. And so you bring all your sensory perceptions together in that one moment, and it it opens the doorway to life.
Wow. And you said working with the breath, not breast, right?
That's right. That's right.
That's when they make the baby, not when they have the baby.
Yeah, the breasts kind of are, they get other uses for periods of time after birthing. At least we hope, but, yeah, good times.
Sorry, I was raised in the ballet studio, so they didn't teach us about either one.
Yeah, either one.
Usually it's the guys when they hear the word breast that pop up. You girls are too much.
We're silly.
We are the worst.
We're silly.
We're the worst. Yeah.
So is it so I'm just kind of taking my small knowledge about hypnosis. So is she essentially a little bit like self-hypnosis, the mother, a little bit during that time?
That's
or
right.
is it
That's
yeah,
right.
okay. I didn't want to oversimplify.
It's exactly right. It is a form of self-hypnosis. And so, as the mother begins to realize contractions are getting closer together, they begin stepping into that state that they've been practicing over months and months and months, and become really in tune with the body and in tune with the baby. And then, ultimately by being in a relaxed state, we always have access to more information in each moment than when we're stuck in our minds or in fear, which is a contracted state. So when we're in a relaxed state, we're very much in an expansive state, or a receptive and open state. So that really, again, allows the mechanisms of the sensory perception of the body systems to take more information in about the environment, about the child, about the rhythms of the body, the heartbeats, and all of that good stuff, so that it's working as a whole system and not as a fragmented system of, bound by fear or constricted by uncertainty, or maybe even a lack of confidence.
Wow. Absolutely. Wow. But you could use that for anything, not just childbirth.
Anything. Absolutely. Hypnosis is a great method to get your brainwave states, into sync and really to, get access to the subconscious mind, or to deposit new information in the subconscious mind. There's so many great tools out there, definitely.
So now I want to kind of bring this back to you, Ryan. So people, for sure, while I'm thinking of it, can you tell us your web address and whatnot?
Absolutely. The web address you can find me at is bloominginlove.com. So BLOOMINGINLOVE.com. And, that URL, this whole vision came to me because I think nature has so much wisdom in it to offer us as humanity. And so, I speak a lot in my work, in metaphors and symbolism. And I think, blooming in love is really, the expression of really just living in existence of love, at all times as often as possible. And that's what I help people really kind of realize for themselves in their own life experience.
Yes, and now also you are working, I get this wrong, so correct me, but you're sort of working on opening this healing center as well, is that right?
That's right, yeah. I'm calling you actually in the moment from the beautiful foothills in North Carolina, just outside of Asheville. And, we as a family kind of were called to this area about 4.5 years ago. And granted, it's taken us a little time to clean up our mess back there and finish up what needed to be closed up there. And now I'm kind of leading the way for the family. I'm in current investigation of a perfect piece of land here in the area. So if anybody that's listening knows anyone that has land that never really knew what to do with it, or thought, boy, I'd love to, maybe, leave a legacy behind for humanity, that I'm here looking for some perfect land to develop this beautiful Blooming in Love Heart Center, which will be both a therapeutic center as well as an educational center, and really an experiential center, a place whereby you'll get the opportunity to apply yourself in different environments to really better connect yourself with nature and the organic nature within oneself.
And you also, are you still running, I just want people to be aware, are you still running your crowdfunding for the center?
There is still momentum happening with that on GoFundMe. We are offering, I do have a crowdsourcing, campaign happening there, which does describe some of the, how the center kind of came into being. I don't have the URL address offhand for that, unfortunately, in my mind, but, it's just slowly growing organically. And that's really what I think I want to share with the listeners more than anything. We've really become conditioned to get immediate gratification. And granted, some things come into our experience and our creative capacities move things out into the world, sometimes very quickly. And that's a beautiful thing. It just means the right conditions were there, the right timing was there, the right resources, the right people, and the right purity of heart was there. But sometimes, things take some time. And so sometimes we have personal work to do. Sometimes the people that are going to be contributors to it have some things they need to resolve before we can all be brought together to realize this kind of grander contribution than even our own personal selves would have it. So, it's all underway.
So when you speak of the healing center that you're putting, and you're planning on setting it up in Asheville, North Carolina, you said?
Yeah, it's going to be in the general, surrounding Asheville area. So, probably I would say within 40 miles of Asheville. We have to make it accessible, by those that want to fly in, and then we also want to, be able to work closely with the Asheville community because they have so much richness and so much creativity, and so being close enough to be able to collaborate, effectively is an important theme of the Blooming in Love Heart Center. So, one of the petals of the lotus that I teach is common intention and purpose and coming together and gathering places, right? So bringing people together in humanity for a common intention, common purpose. And so we'll be playing a lot with other sustainable communities, intentional communities, as well as Asheville and the various artists and contributors throughout the area.
It sounds amazing. What kind of, for Healing Center, I imagine people might have several different preconceived notions based on their own experience or studies, what that might mean. But to you, what would the Healing Center be providing, and what kind of services would you hope to offer?
Yeah, that's a great question. The Healing Center is based on a sacred geometry design that was brought to my attention 3 years ago this month as a crop circle. And so the center is going to be offering nutritional guidance and assistance through multitudes of approaches from the Ayurvedic Eastern philosophy of, the ancient wisdom from 5,000 plus years of history there. We'll be instituting the Hippocrates wisdom that is still a functioning and very vibrant organization here, really making some huge ripples in the way of nutrition as we speak, and I'm a big part of bringing something wonderful to the world, which I can't get into the details yet, but it is coming, and I'm really excited to that effect, and that basically is going to be the introduction of organic and nutritionally dense foods in our hospitals for patients here in the United States as well as abroad, starting with Europe, but we're going to make our way down here as well. So again, there's a lot going on right now, but the nutrition components will also have kind of an oasis area where, it's kind of a relaxation meditation area. We'll also have a music center where, musicians can come in and have access to a wide variety of musical instruments and recording studios and producers, and can create their independent music and get it out into the world. A 24-hour day, meditation sphere where people can come and go freely and meditate. And again, there's going to be a wide variety of other additional services, from specialist with certain kind of healing modalities, to chiropractic care, to Qigong, to yoga, to Tai Chi. I mean, the list goes on. It's going to be just a fun, fun environment, filled with food forests of organic foods and berries and vegetables, and a lot of education on permacultural design and sustainability and renewable energy. So it's going to be basically what I would describe as the new potential, the new earth, really giving rise in a very small way to begin with, and we'll build it out from there as the community grows. But the first center will support between about 12 and 15 people, and eventually the larger vision was showing me to support somewhere in the range of about 3,300 people.
Wow. And so people that capacity, those numbers of people would eventually come and stay for like a week or an extended period of time, or would it be more of like a day spa for your spirit?
That's a great question. I think it's D. It's D. It's all the above. It's amazing. The energy is coming to such a degree that true transformation can take place in the next sacred moment of now. And I've had those type of experiences with working with certain people, and I don't claim responsibility for those results. It was the right time, it was the right conditions, and spirit, wanted to realize itself in its fullness and well-being. And so in that next moment, that next sacred moment of now, they experienced complete liberation from whatever suffering was, experienced at that time, whether it was physical or emotional or mental or, a combination of all of those things. So someone may come just for the day to visit. Others may come and there'll be, other housing for guests that are there for ongoing retreat. It may be that they're participating in a weekly retreat that's there, or they may come and stay for 6 weeks and help out in an exchange, on the property and in the garden and receive care that way. So I really want it to be accessible to the masses.
Can we move in?
Yeah, you're welcome. You're in.
I want a permanent place. I remember, it was years ago, and I was, super stressed out. It was a very difficult time for me, and, was fortunate enough to, with two friends, found a really bargain basement trip to Hawaii, basically, and went to Hawaii, and the accommodations actually wound up being great, and I was on the beach, and I kept thinking, I really should be happy right now. I'm on vacation, but somehow I had brought my mind with me. I couldn't get vacation from my mind. And that was really I needed a spirit. My spirit needed a place to go vacation. And it sounds like this would be the perfect refueling place.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to have labyrinths outside, which are, great meditation circles or spirals. We'll have, meditation spaces all throughout. And of course, we want to have water features where people can go down and, hopefully we'll have a couple of running rivers or streams on the property and really give people just a space to be. And that's what Blooming Love is all about. It's really coming into an acceptance of just being. And being, when we find that restful place, inspires our doing. We're actually reversed in our conditioning. We believe that if we do, then we'll get to be something. We first have to be, and then the doing comes naturally, and the inspiration comes, So yeah, and it's like what Yoda said to Luke Skywalker when that snake came and he had the ship, crashed in the muck there, and the snake came, and Luke's like, "Whoa, what was that, Yoda?" He said, "Whatever you brought here, my friend," right? So whatever is within our minds, no matter where we go, we can't outrun it. So we have to do the work, and we have to be willing to be authentic and vulnerable with ourselves and be really truthful and honest with ourselves and others as to where we're really at, what we're really feeling. And then comes the doorway that opens to new possibilities. But first we have to accept and acknowledge where we're at.
I'm gonna do my best Yoda voice now. Do it!
There is no do, only be.
There is no try. Only do or do not.
The dingo took my baby.
So we all need a Yoda. I think we need to arrange to also have a Yoda at Asheville.
And a dingo. Well, I'm looking at the time, and I want everybody to get a chance one more time to get their contacts in. I'll ask you, Ryan, and then I'll ask you, Vanessa, and then I'll tell you all of my crap.
So yeah, so how do
Awesome.
people
Well,
find
thank
you?
you. Thank you so much. It's really been an honor to be here with you, ladies. Vanessa, it's a pleasure to meet you. And JJ, thank you. And the audience, thank you. I can be reached again at bloominginlove.com. You can reach me by email at bloominginlove@gmail. And if you are interested in, either receiving lifestyle coaching, transformation coaching services, I'd certainly love to speak with you. And if you are looking for any solutions for, organic and nutrient-dense cleanses to help really eradicate toxins and metals from the body, I certainly can help you out with that as well. I have an amazing transformation product that has changed my lives, and I've helped so many others do the same. So be honored to help you with any of those areas in your life.
Despite our love of Ozzy Osbourne, you can have too much heavy metal in your system. So when those of us who need cleansing for heavy metals, we know where to find you. So that's awesome.
And Vanessa, do you want to give your information?
Yes, actually, you can follow me on Vanessa Logan 80. That's 80 on Instagram and Twitter. I can be found in both of those places, and I would love to hear from you. Anybody out there who wants to get in touch, that would be a great way.
And also I can be reached on Facebook. My website is finally almost constructed, believe it or not. Hold on to your breath. And actually, my book is in process as well, which is kind of exciting. And you can reach me on Facebook. I'm trying to get my Facebook is J Cynthia Brooks Official, but I've got too many friends, so I'm trying to get you all over to House of Healing, J Cynthia Brooks, House of Healing. And I also have a group page, Valara, so, feel free to check that out. And I think that's it for now. Any last words, Vanessa or Ryan? Because we got, how many minutes?
Do we lose Ryan? Ryan, are you still there? I think we lost Ryan. Ryan might be gone.
Looks like Ryan hung up, actually.
Okay.
Sorry.
Oh, he hung up?
Yeah, you did, and you also
okay.
got one call. I didn't connect it because you only had an hour, and it didn't look like you had time to take phone calls.
That's quite all right. Well, good. Ryan, if you're listening, goodbye. We loved speaking with you. Thank you for joining us.
Absolutely. Is that call still there, JJ?
No.
Okay.
And you only got 2 minutes left anyways.
Awesome.
We're done. So, okay, well, perfect. Well, so, please follow me at Vanessa Logan 80, Instagram and Twitter. And that's spelled sort of the traditional way, Vanessa with 2 S's and Logan, like Logan Airport in Boston.
Right.
Easy to find.
Just like you.
Just like me, easy to find. Here I am, coming at ya.
Why is it 80? Because it's your age?
I just like the number, because I'm 80 years old. Right?
Did I just hear that?
No, it's
I guess it's okay. If I would have said that, my wife would have came downstairs and smacked me.
And
what are you saying, JJ?
I guess it's okay for you to say that, but if I would have just said that, my wife would have came downstairs and slapped me for it.
No, forcibly removed her hand from my mouth. It's because I was born in 1980, thank you. I can't prove it because we're not on TV. You can't see my age. I'm not 80 years old.
Are you sure?
I'm sure.
28. Of course, you sound 28.
Well, then I should do something like J Cynthia Brooks 86 because I wasn't born in 86, but I got 86 a lot.
I was just going to say the same thing, dear. You could call me JJ86 because I've been 86 from bars coast to coast, east to west, New York, California.
I got you beat. I've been 86 from airplanes for smoking.
Oh, no.
I didn't realize we were allowed to put hands over each other's mouths on radio.
Yeah.
They should have told me that. I would have covered her mouth a half an hour ago. No, I'm kidding.
No, you're not. Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for listening and listening. And joining us. While I have the time, I want to thank JJ again so much. Really, JJ, thank you so much for hosting the show and doing all that techno work that, I'm terrible at.
Oh, at the very beginning was a train wreck, but I pulled it together.
You did.
Well, thank you.
Okay, that's it, folks. Thanks, everybody. Check us out.
I believe in angels, and I believe in you. I believe in the simple things and everything you do. care because I believe in you.